everyone. We're super excited to be here. Just as a quick intro for PressFriends, we're a peer mentoring organization that's youth-led, working with kids from all around, especially in the LA area, using literacy as a way to just provide more opportunity to all of you great kids. And we're very, very excited today. Tess is here to kind of introduce everyone on the call, and she can kick things off.
Yeah. Thanks, Luke. Hi, everybody. I'm Tessa. And we would like to introduce the teachers who were able to make this program happen for us all today. So we have Sylvia Ruiz, who's a 5th grade teacher at John Mack Elementary School. Hi, Sylvia. Thank you. Yes, snaps and claps. Lisa Saldivar, who is the principal at Parmalee Avenue Elementary. Thank you so much, Ms. Saldivar. Jasmine Tigolo, who is a 5th grade teacher at Fauché Learning Center. Woohoo, I love the enthusiasm. Yes, I see it. All right. And we'll hand it back to Penny here.
Great, thanks Tessa, and thanks Luke. We're gonna get started. I believe that you all have the link. You've looked at Justice Guerrero's confirmation hearing. So much great information is in that hearing about her background and her job as a jurist, as a judge, and then a justice, and now she is a Supreme Court justice for the state of California. She's going to talk to y'all about that today in the next 27 minutes. We're going to get started right away and ask Donna Mejia from Parmalee. Is she here? I'm going to also spotlight Justice Guerrero. There she is.
Hello, my name is Donna. What do you do daily as a Supreme Court Justice?
Hi, good morning, Donna. And first, I'd like to say good morning to everybody and just let you know how excited I am to be here and have an opportunity to speak with all of you. It's one of the best things about what I do as a Supreme Court Justice. Part of my job just in general is day-to-day, a lot of what you do in the classroom. I remember being in 5th grade just like you. I have a lot of fond memories of that. A lot of reading, a lot of writing, and that's primarily what I spend most of my day doing, thinking through difficult issues that affect all of Californians and families like yours. I also spend a lot of time in meetings, and so it can be quiet on a day-to-day basis, except for the meetings that I have with my research attorneys. I have, like in all aspects of life, it's not just an individual thing that you do. You have a team of people, and I'm blessed to have a team of people who help me to try to do the best job that I can do. And I also participate in what we call oral arguments. You see the background in back of me is a background of the courtroom. And we have oral arguments. It's an opportunity for the lawyers to present their cases and make their arguments, and an opportunity for all of us. There are 7 justices on the California Supreme Court to get together, and we then discuss the cases. So I, again, am blessed with wonderful colleagues. Everyone's fabulous here. I'm just starting out, but I have observed all of my colleagues for quite some time, and I have a lot to learn from all of them, and hopefully I can also contribute to the court. And then outreach efforts like today, as I mentioned, are one of my most favorite things to do, because I have an opportunity to talk to people who maybe don't know the courts as well as we all do. And I think it's important. What you're doing is really helpful, the skills that you're gaining, regardless of whether you decide to be a lawyer. I hope there are people who maybe want to be lawyers or judges. The skills that you are gaining can help prepare you for really any career. So that's just a very broad overview of what I do on a daily basis.
Great, thank you, Justice. We have a question from Emily Martinez.
Hi, my name is Emily. I would want to know, did you know you wanted to be a Supreme Court Justice at a young age?
Hi, Emily. Thank you for that question. It's an important question of thinking through when I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. And just getting to your direct question, it never really dawned on me that I would one day, I never would have imagined that I would be here today. Growing up where I grew up in the Imperial Valley, I didn't even know any lawyers when I was growing up. So I can't say that I always wanted to be a Supreme Court justice, at least not at a young age. I was always encouraged by my teachers, and I have parents who are very supportive and taught me the importance of an education. So I always knew in the back of my head that I wanted to do something important, something meaningful, and something that I thought would make a difference in people's lives. So at a very early age, I thought probably that would be a doctor. That's what I thought. Really the only thing I had exposure to. Then around middle school, I had, again, very encouraging teachers who planted a little seed in my head about two possible career paths for me. And they said, based on my skills at the time, they said I would be a good teacher or I would be a good lawyer. And I think it was because they said because I could argue well, but I think they meant that in a good way, that I was able to debate and present my position both in writing and also orally, that I would be a good advocate. So they were the ones who really encouraged me because I didn't have any exposure. I didn't have any role models that I could look to. It wasn't really until I started college and I ended up majoring in really that's focusing on a specific field. And I decided to major in legal studies. And that's when I did meet lawyers. I started to learn about this career. And it really was, for me, a wonderful fit. And then I knew I wanted to be a judge eventually, but there are a lot of steps along the way and a lot of obstacles to overcome. But I would just go back to being in 5th grade, and like you, I would just emphasize that you may not know specifically what you want to do right now, and you're not really expected to, so you shouldn't be worried that you don't know specifically. But I would just encourage you to follow your dreams because you can do whatever you end up wanting to do. So that would be my message to you.
Great. You can do anything you set your mind to. Yes. We have Megan Lopez.
Justice Guerrero, thank you for being a role model to a young Latina like me. My question is being a judge nice or boring for you?
Well, thank you first for your comment, and I hope to be a role model to you and to others like you and to really all students throughout California. So thank you for that. Being a judge is never boring, and I'm lucky that I found something that I love. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't matter really what you decide to do, but it's important that you find something where it's meaningful to you. And this job is meaningful to me. It's not boring because I love the work. I've always loved school. So it feels kind of like going back to school where you have a book. We still have books sometimes, although most of it is electronically now, like I'm sure it is for you guys. But I like being able to sit through issues. And I mentioned my colleagues, and that's why, another reason why it's really never boring, because I have such amazing colleagues. So we talk through difficult issues, we make decisions, and we try to persuade one another, going back to what my middle school teacher said, trying to argue your point, but not in a way that is a negative way, but just trying to be persuasive and present your positions. So it's never boring because I enjoy what I do. I imagine it would not be ideal for everybody, but again, going back to the point that I was making earlier is you need to try to find something that would be a good fit for you. But for me, it's never boring.
Thank you, Justice Guerrero. We're going to hear next from Rodolfo Mejia. And let me see if I can add. There we are. You're going to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Justice Guerrero, thank you for doing an amazing job as a justice. My question is, what was one of your favorite cases?
And that's a really good question. So thank you for that. It's hard to pick. It's like someone asking you, who's your favorite child? There's really no good answer for that. You have favorite parts of each case. And so what I try to do is I try to find something about each case that I enjoy. And it's really the feedback that I get from the cases, I think what it stands out to me the most. Because as an example, I had an assignment in family court, and it can be very challenging because of the issues that we deal with. And I had a situation where I ran into one of the people because they weren't represented. They didn't have an attorney. So it was the individual who had appeared before me in court, and he had a situation where they kept coming back because there was a lot of disputes that needed to be resolved. And he ended up approaching me at an event at a law school. And he told me, I immediately recognized him. I recognized the name of his child, and I asked how she was doing. And he said that because of the experience that he had in the courtroom with me, he was now in law school. So he was going to law school because he recognized the importance, and he thanked me for listening to him. So anytime that I can help people in a way that makes them understand that we do the best job that we can to make sure that the process is a fair one for people, that's what I enjoy about the specifics. So the specific facts of the case don't matter. Although I know you guys are in 5th grade, so I share some like fun facts with my kids too about different cases. And so I thought of one case that they got a kick out of the most, and so I'll share that with you. It was, as I mentioned, in family court, where there are a lot of arguments over really significant issues like dividing property or custody disputes. One of the cases, though, was about time with a dog. So how do they resolve their disputes about a time with a dog? So that was something that didn't happen very often. And so that was something that my kids thought was a little bit amusing.
We have up next, we have Angie from John Mack. Now this question, I got a laugh out of this question. So I can't wait to hear Angie ask it.
Hi, my name is Angie. My question is, have you ever been hated on while being your dog?
There's a little bit of
echo.
Yeah, so Angie, there's a little bit of echo. I think we're hearing it from all students, not just you. So I'll repeat the question. And Angie asked, have you ever been hated on while doing your job?
Yeah, I love that question. I'd answer it this way and say that in life, you learn to have thick skin. So I think being hated on probably isn't uncommon. And I imagine you probably could find situations where you could characterize it that way. But the way I look at it, especially because one side always loses and one side wins. So there are always going to be people when you're a judge who may not be fully satisfied with the outcome of the case. So in that sense, I suppose you could characterize it that way. But what I try to do is to me, it emphasizes that it's really important for us as judges to make sure that we explain ourselves and our positions and our rulings so that even though you may not be happy, you won't hate on me because you'll understand the basis for my ruling. And you'll see that we try to do you may not be happy with the result, but it's a fair one in each case.
Great. Thank you, Justice Guerrero and Angie. We're going to move now into a segment where we can learn a little bit more about Justice Guerrero's experience in school in 5th grade. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago for me. I don't know about you, Justice Guerrero. So we're going to hear from David Guerrero from John Mack.
Hi, my name is David. What is your best memory of 5th grade?
Thank you, David. Well, 5th grade, it doesn't seem penny to us like it was a long time ago, but to them, it does. And we're really old in comparison, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I have, well, at least I should speak for myself, but I have a lot of wonderful memories of 5th grade. And I guess there are certain categories of things that stand out to me. One of them being my teacher, Mr. Minix. He was a fabulous teacher. I recently contacted him, or he contacted me recently. So that was really nice. He remembered me, and he was a wonderful role model for us. I grew up in a primarily Hispanic community, and he was the only African American teacher that I had. And it stands out to me that there was a student in our class who was also African American, and I just remember him being such a wonderful role model to all of us, but especially to her who needed guidance at the time. I wouldn't have thought of it then, but the importance of representation came to mind recently because I was thinking of that student because of something that came up. But so him, Mr. Minix, and then I started thinking I never had any Hispanic teachers. It just dawned on me when I was thinking of this question, which is remarkable for where I grew up. So I think it's important to have, like you guys do, teachers who are representative and you can look up to as role models. It doesn't have to be from your same ethnicity or background, but I think it's meaningful when it is. And so he was a really good teacher. So that stands out as a very positive experience for me in 5th grade. And I think the other is just really little themes that came to mind when I thought of your question. We used to have little opportunities to help the teacher. And so I always enjoyed that. I always wanted to be as helpful as I could. So I would be tasked with little things like cleaning blackboards, which you guys don't even have anymore, but I used to be responsible for cleaning the blackboards. And I would get chalk. I really liked getting chalk. And so I would always volunteer for that. And then we would have Citizen of the Month. That stood out in my mind too. Citizen of the Month would be one designated student for demonstrating qualities that you guys have yourselves about being good role models for others and being good peers for your fellow students and being good students. And we would get flags that we would be able to take home. And we had an opportunity to then put your flags up in your homes, outside of your homes for that week. And then at the end of the year, there was just one student who would be picked and would be able to keep that flag. And so that really meant a lot to me. And I was picked as that student. So that stands out. And then who doesn't like recess? So recess was one of my favorite things. And you probably wouldn't be able to do this now, but I was thinking back of how our area looked. We had these parallel bars that were just on dirt, and we used to do different tricks on it, including one where I would like put my knees on the bar, and then we would do this free fall backwards and flip over. And that would not be allowed today for liability purposes, and I wouldn't encourage it. But that stands out as a really good memory of 5th grade.
Oh, I used to do the same, and I would always end up with a face plant in the dirt trying to do that. That seems like yesterday. Okay, we're going to have Rebecca Ramos from John Mack ask our next question.
Hi, my name is Rebecca, and my question is, did you struggle in school? What were your previous jobs?
Hi, Rebecca. Those are both great questions. They're kind of related, and I'll get to that. But struggling in school, I always really liked school. So I wouldn't say that I necessarily struggled in school, not in elementary school, but I always worked hard. I mean, for some people, it's just natural. You don't have to do any homework or spend a lot of time doing homework. But I always worked really hard. I took it seriously, and I did all my homework. You know, it doesn't just always come easy. And that was especially true in high school because you mentioned previous jobs. I started working when I was 16 years old. So I started working when I was very young in high school. And I was also involved in a lot of, I played all different kinds of sports, cheerleading, ASB, a lot of extracurricular activities, and worked during the school week too. And so that was very difficult. So I would say that was somewhat of a struggle. And, you know, it required sacrifices that maybe other people who didn't have the need to work didn't have to think about. And one of them, a sport that I had played for a long time, I wasn't able to play during my senior year because it conflicted with my work schedule, and my coach wasn't willing to accommodate the conflicts. So things like that. But I will say that was a softball that I wasn't able to participate in my senior year in high school. But I was able, I knew the coach who was the coach for the golf team. So I was able to play golf. So I learned to play golf my senior year. And it was a trade-off. And the experience that I had, though, at the grocery store where I worked, I was a bagger. So I would bag groceries. And I also worked at the deli later on after I had worked as a bagger, courtesy clerk is what we called it, for some time. So I gained very valuable experience. I learned to manage my time. And it also really, really helped me in college when I was able to have that kind of experience managing multiple tasks. So that was something that I did and continue to do. You mentioned my previous jobs. I worked in a grocery store, and I worked in a grocery store when I went to college. I went to the closest grocery store I could find, and I just showed up and said, I need a job. And so I worked through college as well to help pay for my career. For my education. And then eventually I started working as a lawyer, and I worked in different capacities for a private law firm. And also I worked as a prosecutor for the U.S. Attorney for the federal government as well. And then I became a judge.
Great. Okay, we have up next, we have Lewis, but I do not see Lewis in the participant list. So I can't pull him up, but I'll ask Luis Vicente from Parmalee to ask the next question.
Hi, my name is Luis, and my question is, what challenges did you have growing up as a daughter of an immigrant, and what did it teach you?
Thank you, Luis. That's a question that I think it's important to share and to talk about. And I had experiences that I imagine maybe similar to some of your experiences. My parents immigrated and came from Mexico. They had struggles growing up, and they grew up in they had a lot of siblings, so large household, and very little money and resources. And so they faced challenges. They came here, though, to this country so that they would have hopefully at least the hope of a brighter future for us, for my sister and for me. And they hoped that we would have more opportunities, which is why they emphasized the importance of education. I grew up also in a community where I mentioned was largely Hispanic, and also there were people, a lot of unemployment, illiteracy rates, and poverty. And so we saw that, we experienced some of that, but it didn't feel like a burden, or it actually, I think, made me stronger. And so despite the fact that, we didn't need a lot of money, you don't have to have designer clothes, you make sacrifices that are important, and you also help other people. So even though you may not have a lot of money, you may be able to help someone who has even less than you do. And so growing up in that type of environment, my parents taught me that. And we had a family in, I don't know if you know, Mexicali as well, and Mexico. So we would go very often to visit them and to help them as well. So those types of experiences, I think, helped me learn what's important. And it's not the material things that are important. It's really your family, your community, and the opportunity to help other people.
Wonderful. We will learn a little bit more about your path to college and preparing for college, Justice Guerrero, by our next question, which comes from Angelique Montenegro from Parmalee. And I'm sorry, I'm looking in the list of participants so I can bring their faces up and we can meet them, but I think Parmalee is in a group, and so we'll just hear from her. Are you ready, Angelique?
Hey, my name is Angelique. How did you learn about college and prepare for going to college?
Thank you, Angelique. Again, these are really wonderful questions. I really appreciate all the thought that you all put into preparing for today. I know it's a lot of work. College, I didn't have the same resources that I understand students have now. So I'll give you an example. I think really what prompted me to look at the specific schools that I was looking at was my principal in 8th grade. So I was the co-valedictorian of our class. And so the principal met with me and the other co-valedictorian afterwards and sat us down and said, and he directly told me, I expect you to go to a really good school. And I would want you to, I think you should look at schools like Berkeley and Stanford. Well, I had never really heard anything about that. It was in the days before the internet. So we didn't have the same resources. And so I started looking at those schools, and that's, it made a difference and it made an impact on me. And I then sent out and requested applications. I didn't have anybody to guide me through that process. I didn't know anyone who had gone to those schools. I had not even heard of them. And so that was a little bit difficult for me. Our guidance counselors, I'm hoping that things are different now for a lot of you, but our guidance counselors also didn't spend a lot of time with us and guide us through the process. So I had to do a lot of it on my own. And I reached out and asked for applications from these schools, and I applied. I applied to Berkeley, and I got in. I didn't even tell my parents that I was applying because I didn't want to. They wanted me to go where my sister, to live closer to her, where she was in LA. And I wanted to go to Berkeley. And they were very happy for me when I got in. But I kind of did it all on my own. But you don't have to. And now there are more people who are willing to talk to you about the process. I am willing to talk to you if you guys, when you're at that age. And there are so many other people who are willing to spend time and guide you through the process. I now have a son who is in high school, starting to look for colleges. He's not starting, I'm starting to look for colleges for him, but he's in 10th grade. And I started preparing a spreadsheet of all this different information about all of these schools, about acceptance rate, location, school size. Then I realized there are websites now and programs that do all of this for you. It's wonderful. And I have this specific website where you can go, you can do now virtual tours. So you can go and do tours like you're going through, you know what a virtual tour is. It's like a video game. So you can go walk through the actual college campus. You don't even have to go and visit in person, although it's fun to do that too. So my experience was much different. It doesn't have to be that way now for you. And that's because you have so many resources available to you. And if you don't, I would encourage you to reach out because there are so many people who would want to help you and guide you through this process.
Great. Thank you, Justice Guerrero. You might find in a couple of years, a lot of press friends calling you, referring today, so careful.
No, I'd be happy to help.
That's wonderful. Okay, it's 11:10, doing a time check. I do want to squeeze in the last question from Amilcar Hernandez from Frochet. I'm going to put you up on the spotlight and go ahead.
Hi, my name is Amilcar, and Justice Guerrero, thank you for all your work helping immigrants. And my question is, what is your favorite thing to do in your free time?
Well, my favorite thing to do is spend time with my kids. So I don't have a lot of free time, but my free time is spent doing things that they like. So as an example, today I'm going to my younger son's track meet. So I like to do what they like to do. And it changes as you grow up. You have a little bit less time to focus on everything. So you have to sort of pick the things that you really like. So I like doing things with them. But I like also, I mentioned golf. I also like to golf, and I like to go to the beach. I live close to the beach, so I like to spend time there as well.
Great. I just wanted to thank all of you students. We do have one last question that we're going to end on, but before we get to that, these programs that are so important to our youth and in our communities, they rely heavily on volunteers, the volunteers that support the work that you all are doing in 5th grade. You'll remember it for the rest of your lives, I hope. And I know you're going to remember today and meeting Justice Guerrero. But I believe, was it us who was going to do volunteers and assistant teachers? Did I get that right?
Yeah. All right. So we want to thank the USC volunteers who helped work on this project. We would like to thank Victoria Garcia Lopez. Thank you. Dayanara Saucedo, Bryn Di Donato, Emma Werner, Maddie Libby, yay, Marissa Zayed, Callie McAdams, and Jackson Epps. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I've thoroughly enjoyed working with Deborah. Let's not forget about Deborah. Yay. You've been wonderful to coordinate all of this with. We love events like this. And, but one question came in and I just really had to take this opportunity to meet Peyton. Peyton, you have the honor of interviewing the Supreme Court Justice, Patricia Guerrero. And this brilliant question you came up with, can you share that with us? You're on mute.
Thank you for being here with us. My name is Peyton Mustard, and my question is, how tall are you?
How tall am I? Wow. Well, let's see. I'm about 5'6". But when I'm on the bench, I would think it's closer to about 7 feet 5 inches tall, I would say. So I have a question for all of you is, does anyone know, or can anyone explain or give your best thought about why a judge's bench is raised? Are there any volunteers?
What? Why would you think a judge's bench is elevated so high above the room? You see it on television, you see it in photos. Why is that? I see Parmalee over here. We see a hand raised. I'm gonna spotlight you.
So everyone could see the judge, like what she's saying.
Thank you. That's a really good response. I would say also, in addition to that, it's important for us to see all of you. And it's not, so a couple of things I would say. You're right. And also that it's important that we are able to see all of the participants. So we can see, a lot of times you think we can't see your facial expressions, but your facial expressions are really important. So we want to make sure that we're monitoring and making sure that the decorum in the courtroom is appropriate and you're being respectful to everybody. And also we want to make sure that the participants in the courtroom, so you have people in the back who are observing, that they are also respectful and that they also are understanding the process. And then I would say it is not because we're in any way more important than the other participants. So I wanted to underscore that. We're there to help facilitate the process and respect the rule of law, but everybody in that courtroom is entitled to respect. So there you have it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Justice Guerrero. Thank you, PressFriends. Thank you, teachers, principals. Thank you, Deborah Chan Southwell, for putting this together and making it just flow so easily. That went by so quickly. Feel free to email me when you guys are ready to apply for college. Contact Justice Guerrero.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to see the great things that are going to come from you all. And perhaps we'll meet again in the future. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.